I do have a question, though. What is a universal poopy pants?
You just listened to my latest episode. Oh man. Well, so I was I got COVID like right after getting kind of dumped. Well, not like, and it was literally, and there was just some work stuff going on. And I was like, dude, this hurts. This really hurts. And then I had to spend, I live alone, and I like had to spend COVID isolation with my thoughts, which, I'm a mindfulness teacher. So I was like, all right, it's fucking showtime. But I was like,
we always walk the walk real well.
Right. But I was like meditating and doing all this stuff and practicing what I preach. But it was like, oh my God, this is so painful. And I couldn't distract myself with anything. Like I couldn't even, it just felt like stuff was coming from all angles, and just like kind of, I felt like I got a beat down. And
I asked that because it rang every bell in my head all at once. I was like, this is a brilliant way to sum up what you can have at a certain moment in time. But, the only permanent thing in life is change. So you only have poopy pants for a certain amount of time, and then you move on. You change your diaper, or you sit in it.
Right.
It's good to get it all out of the way at one time, too. Like, work stuff.
No, it felt like an accelerated course. And I have like a white erase whiteboard marker that I like sometimes write messages on my mirror. And I wrote, "This too shall pass," but I wrote T really sloppy, and it looked like it said, "This poo shall pass."
Even better.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it like that. I just erased it yesterday. Yeah. I was like, yeah. And I feel a little bit better. I'm still a little bit bummed about the breakup thing, but like
I didn't mean to bum you out.
No.
I wasn't ready for that part. Well, welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and Gary's in studio today. How you doing, Gary?
Good. Stop making people all sad before we even introduce them, please.
Man, I didn't think I was going to pull the rug out from under the show. I was like, the universal poopy pants was great. Yeah. Well, we're joined today by Juni Bucher, breast cancer survivor and the host of the Tata Cancer podcast. How you doing today, Juni?
I am doing great. And you know what? I probably should have told you this before. My last name is actually Boucher.
Nice. I butchered Butcher or Boucher.
Well, I like to tell people, I'm sure you're familiar with the Water Boy.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought of immediately.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, that's my sad way of helping people understand how to say it.
My mama said.
Which, by the way, I saw that movie in the theater with my brother, and as soon as Adam Sandler said his name, we like looked at each other and we were like, this is the first day of the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And you got to go back to high school right after that and look at your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
They really talk like that down there. We were in Lafayette for about a week last year, and I was like, holy shit, they talk like this down here. Like it was everybody looked like a character. Like just
everybody looked like the pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisiana is a trip.
But like, really not all of it. Just like that one area seemed like very Boucher, but the rest of it was like a little.
Oh my gosh! But, yeah. Don't use it as an adjective.
That's true.
Now.
Yeah,
you should use it as an adjective.
Yeah, it's like bougie, but it's Boucher. It's like a little bit Cajun, a little bit rock and roll.
That is really funny.
A small excerpt in your podcast that has like, "This is what's Boucher today."
Yeah.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. That's an interesting idea. I will.
Yeah, that just came out of nowhere. See, somebody could be offended by that, but you weren't. So that's I throw it out there and see if it works.
I think life is funny. Even when you're sitting in your universal poopy pants, it's just, you gotta laugh. You just gotta laugh.
Isn't that the truth? Because again, it's a choice to sit in poopy pants. So
right.
You've got to laugh at yourself for remaining in a dirty diaper. Like it's just how life works. So Juni, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to give you a chance to tell everybody your story, what your cause is, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's you guys are a fun crew. So yeah, I was drawn to the podcast just because I'm a youngish survivor of breast cancer. I don't know when this episode will air, but right now is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, I was somebody who you hear a lot about people getting an illness, and it can be a catalyst for change. And I like to talk about how when poopy things happen to you, you have a choice. You can take whatever pathway you choose. And, not everything is always in your control, but your attitude is always in your control. And I like to talk about that. So, I guess just where do you want me to start?
Well, why don't we talk about what surviving breast cancer was for you?
Okay. Yeah, the whole experience was something that kind of came out of left field. I really was not expecting that. I don't think most people who are diagnosed with cancer.
Unless you're a hypochondriac like me, I expect it every time I go to the doctor.
I just don't go to the doctor.
Constant state of one phone call away from cancer.
That's funny. Well, I will
Never
say,
WebMD.
Yeah, right. That is one of the biggest pieces of advice that oftentimes people get when you're diagnosed with cancer. As they say, don't consult with Dr. Google. But to be completely honest with you, I think it's irresistible. I don't know anybody that doesn't Google.
How can you not?
Their right. That's what I said. And it's like, I'd rather be armed with information, which is one of the reasons why I started my podcast. But, surviving breast cancer, it forced me to really look at my life. It forced me to see what I felt I wasn't particularly in alignment with. I ended up quitting. I ended up going back to school to follow my passion. I mean, I worked full time. It was actually during lockdown that I decided, you know what, I had this great paying job. I was working in the legal industry, but I just knew I wasn't happy, and it was very taxing. And I decided to just create a different reality. And I went back to school for nutrition, which is something I've always loved. And then I kind of worked my way up to building my own practice that now helps other breast cancer survivors navigate the world of survivorship. Because one thing with cancer is you have like 1,000 doctors that you're working with while you're in treatment. And then all of a sudden, once you've completed treatment, they're like, okay, cool.
Ring a bell and have a good day.
Yeah, exactly. And literally, and like, don't get cancer again. And you're like, wait, what? So
no, I would freak out if I had it once and survived it, because I'm already a phone call away from cancer because of my own paranoia. If I've had it once, I would just assume they're not diagnosing me correctly every time I go in there. It would be a hell to live in that reality.
Yeah, it is there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with survivorship. And it's a big thing that people talk about. And it's actually why after I got my nutritional certification, I actually went back and got an additional certification to be a mindfulness and meditation teacher, because I realized what a big part of the whole health journey that the management of stress is. And I used meditation and mindfulness to manage my anxiety during cancer. And I've used it ever since. And it's, helped me in so many different ways in my life. And I'm very scientific minded. It is. It's a powerful
I am as
tool.
Well. And just to relate to you here, I've actually been meditating for about 3.5 years now. I haven't missed a single day. And awesome. I agree with you. It changes your perception of reality over time. And time is the key word in that, because it kind of removes that veil or that perception that you're stuck in scenarios and that they're layered. When in all actuality, everything's happening all at the same time. And then you can realize that it will morph itself into the next situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
What's that, Gary?
Like, I said, she understood that. I'm like back at like 3.5 years ago.
Did you understand that?
Yeah, she got it right away. I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Do you meditate, Gary?
I do not.
Do you meditate? Is it something that
tried.
draws you in at all?
I have things that I think are meditation in my mind. Like I make music and I get zoned into a certain thing and I'm very concentrating on the now and I shut the whole world out on little individual beats and sounds. And I feel like that does the trick for me in some ways. So, that or painting and drawing when I could just shut out everything and I'm very focused on one thing and I'm just like, I feel like that's my form of meditation. I don't know if it's the same in a way. But
it is one.
Yeah.
It's one of the purest. Sorry. It's one of the purest because you're creating art. Art is from a place of love. And when you're in that moment, that's a beautiful thing to be able to do. That's mindfulness at its core.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've tried what I thought was meditation, like I'm like very ADD and stuff. And I've tried to like what I guess people had told me in the past was meditation of kind of sitting still and like being in the zone. It just drives me crazy. And like, I'm trying to like not think of the 90 things that my brain wants me to think of. And then I just go crazy in 2 minutes and I'm like, I just can't sit here and do this. So like get back into something, but there's probably ways in which I could do that.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation is that it's about stopping your thoughts. And I love to talk about that with people because, yeah, I remember the first time I meditated, it was like at some kind of Buddhist Zen center and they just sat me like literally like stare at this wall. And I thought I had to stop my thoughts. And it was like, this is terrible. Like, you're never going to stop your thoughts. But it's really just a matter of like letting your thoughts, like not attaching to your thoughts. And like how beautiful that you are a musician and an artist. I can totally relate to that as well. And those are very exactly what you described. That's mindfulness. But I do think there is a lot of power in sitting in meditation. And, sometimes it's just like attaching to your breath, or sometimes it's just observing the sounds that you hear and the layers. Because the power of meditation, just like what Jay was saying, is like understanding like that everything's changing, that you're not your thoughts. There's so much power in that you're not your feelings, you're not your thoughts. They're just an experience that flows in and out.
Kind of like standing in a tornado with perfect calm and being able to recognize everything going around you is not you. The cow, the furniture, the house, the car, the fire truck, all that stuff. And you can't focus on something in a tornado because it'll rip your eyes out of socket trying to go around. So it's the same kind of concept. Once you realize that the cyclone exists, it actually starts to slow down. The key is to make it all hover, I guess. I don't know. I just thought of that about myself, is if you can make all of that just kind of sit there and look at it, you can actually examine it, hold it, move it around and go, that's interesting, and put it back.
I love that analogy. That's such a good analogy. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's where it translates into like having self-compassion. Is you just get curious about it and you just say, that's interesting. And you might notice, wow, that's an insane thought that I just had about myself, or that I just had about this other situation, and you can just let it go.
So how did you relate this to helping people with breast cancer?
So with a highly anxious situation like cancer, where you don't know, a lot of the pain of cancer, the struggle of cancer, at least for me and many of the clients I work with, is the waiting. Because you don't know, there's this whole period of time when they tell you have cancer, and then when they're like trying to figure out what's going on, and you don't know, am I dying? Like, what's going on? How serious is this? Because cancer really you don't feel anything with cancer until it's become very advanced. So there's just all these questions. And how do you manage the anxiety and like not get too far ahead of yourself? That's a big one. How do you manage fear? So a lot of it is like getting into the present moment and understanding like right now I am safe in this moment. And when you do that, scientifically, just being able to relax and manipulate, I suppose. Yeah, you can actually manipulate your stress signals with your breath and stuff like that. And that's going to help bolster your immunity. It's actually going to help you withstand these treatments and have more strength to get through the healing process, both emotionally and physically, if you're able to relax and send signals to your body that you are safe, you are okay, instead of just being constantly bathed in these chemicals and hormones of stress that are going to cause like more inflammation and, maybe make it harder for you to sleep. Maybe you don't have an appetite. You can't fuel yourself. So things like that are very easy, but also just being in acceptance, because, not everybody's going to have the outcome that they want. But how do you live in acceptance of that? How do you move forward in your life and take advantage of the time that you do have, if it might be limited?
Yeah, sorry. There's a Chinese philosophy that says, and I forget whom it's from, but it is worry is preposterous because it creates a current reality that doesn't have anything that exists within it. There is no catalyst at the moment to give you inflammation, high blood pressure, panic attacks. If you were to sit and look, you're not in the doctor's office. You haven't had a scan. None of these things exist yet, but we allow them to be our reality in the now. And it's such a huge waste of the fact that there is a now. It's the present. It says it's a gift in the word.
Yeah, that's you're full of gems, Jay. That is so good. Yeah, it's exactly true.
He gets worn out on my
my he reads all those like waterfall signs at the dentist's office and remembers everyone he's ever read.
Do you have that kitty that's like just hang in there? Is that like above your bed?
No, I told you the other day. What did you say Clint Eastwood said about film? Somebody asked him a question.
They said, how's he been successful for 50 years? And he said, easy. I found the best people I could find and I got the fuck out of their way and let them do their job. It's pretty much what he said.
That's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's the poster in the office.
Yeah. I fight that battle all the time. It's like, hey, what did you hire me for? What did you hire this sound engineer for? You do not know how to turn that machine on. Why are you telling him what to do right now? Like, go do your thing.
I think that applies to doctors and medical staff and things of that nature. You hired them. You put them in that position. We gave them the opportunity to exercise their skills. Let them do it. Trust them, because the moment that you put trust in someone else, you get a chance to relax. Give yourself a break. Let them go do their job.
There is a lot of relief and surrender for sure. Yeah.
Surrender to life.
The system is fucked, though. I mean, you're going to have good doctors within the system, but you're battling against, a whole animal of insurance and who has enough money to get what treatment and who gets the good room and who gets the bad room and who gets a specialist and who gets put on the curb. And, that's, I've watched my best friend, not survive cancer. And, man, they treated him like shit at the beginning, like literally wheeling him out in his hospital gown at 1 a.m. because he didn't have it bad enough at the time to warrant the emergency room. But then, but the other guy's got a different insurance. He gets to stay, or a guy could pay cash or whatever the case may be. And it's like just watching that happen. And he's pretty not well off, but, he's middle class. And there's people that are much poorer than him that didn't even get the damn wheelchair, financial ruin 100%. Your money's just gone. Like, forever. And just if you could even have enough to just get the treatment you may need, let alone like the experimental stuff or supplemental treatments, usually it's just like make them comfortable kind of shit when you're at that point, if you even get that.
I will say as I've gone through this journey and worked with different, people and just educated myself, there are a lot of flaws in the system. And I'm really sorry about your friend. That sucks. That must have been hard. And it is kind of amazing how much, greed factors into the American healthcare system. But I do believe most doctors want to help you. But I am a big proponent of empowering people with information. If you're that type of person, some people want to just say, okay, just tell me what to do. And that is a perfectly good choice to make for you. Like it's your choice. I was the skeptical person who wanted to see outside of the box. And, I made mostly traditional choices, but I also, there were times when I decided to kind of go against the grain and make other choices because they felt right for me. But I took the time to really sit with those choices and gather information. And I think that's an important thing for people to do.
Yeah, they tried everything. Him and his wife were looking for every kind of alternative. And, they were not the type that were going to sit there and just take it. They were like really, his wife, she's Brazilian and got a lot of energy and was not going to be denied when she needed to get something for him. And they tried everything. And they had good doctors that weren't the type that were like, discounted like every type of medicine that wasn't like their traditional medicine. They said if that gives you comfort or gives you a little more energy or whatever, if it was marijuana at the time or even acupuncture type stuff just to relax, like they were mostly all for it unless it was something they thought was going to like interfere with the treatment that they were already getting. So at least he had good doctors. Like they always cared, but it was like the administration and like whatever they had to answer to was the problem all the time.
Oof. Yeah, that's tough.
The moment that there's two different prices for two different people for the same treatment, there's a problem. There's a problem.
Or it'll help and you can't have it. Like you just can't have this.
Yeah.
It's there. We have it right here in this cabinet, but you just don't get this. Like that's when it's like, what the fuck? We're doing the greatest country on earth, supposedly. Yeah. And I don't think that it was going to be. I think his outcome was what it was going to be. I think he ended up getting the best that was probably available at the time. It was some hoops to jump through. I don't think that necessarily had anything to do with it, except adding stress along the way. But other people didn't get what he got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he felt bad about that shit too. A lot of times, like he knew he was getting special treatments.
That's horrible.
And like, he felt like a lot. Like we have some pretty powerful people we work for, especially in this town, and they pulled a lot of strings for him. And he got places, there scans and stuff that were 6 months out or 8 months or 8 weeks. He would get in a couple of days and, different, like some people have to wait 6 weeks to get, whatever, and tumors are growing in that time. And it just, they can't skip the line. And he did. And he would feel so guilty about that shit every time, but
guilty for caring for yourself. That's a sad, sad state of affairs. We've given ourselves no respect for ourselves. We're sitting in such a position that we feel guilty for caring about whether or not we survive over somebody else or feeling like we're taking away their opportunity. It's so sad for him because he was really
skipping
trying
the line
to be there
kind
for his
of
family.
thing. Yeah, he felt like he skipped the line, like I should get in the back of the line and wait through. Like if I take that dose, someone else doesn't get it. And then like, that's not fair kind of thing. There should be enough to go around, or that's just not enough hours in the day and not enough machines and not enough engineers or whoever to build them. So but he was just a really good dude that was always put other people first. Even then he'd always worry about his wife more than himself, like what she was going through. So
sorry, man.
He's I got his name right here, both of my friends, but I didn't mean to turn this into that because they're they give me signs all the time and like he like they're always telling me, I don't know if it's like whenever I'm sitting there with my thoughts, those are like the people that are in my head, like kind of telling me like, hey, you're fucking up. What are you doing? Or like, hey, that was great yesterday. Do more of that. It's not always negative. It's like that kind of stuff. So it works.
Sounds like an amazing person.
Cancer's
for sure.
a bitch. My mom has had it for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
She's 4 years into lung cancer and has been surviving the whole time. So I've witnessed how this can just slowly, take away your will. And what breaks my heart is that there's still life in that moment. There's still life in death. And you have to enjoy every single bit of it. And I watch, my mom dealing with the fact that she's looking at her own demise all the time. And I see like a little bit more give up or something like that. And I feel horrible because you can't help them.
Yeah.
All you can do is sit, watch, and encourage. That said, there's a lot of people that will probably tune into your podcast that do not have breast cancer, but want to be there for other people with breast cancer in their life. What advice do you have for people that are living with someone who's got a diagnosis of breast cancer?
Yeah, I actually just did an episode about all about this, how to support, a loved one with cancer. And, ultimately, just like what you said, people sometimes feel really helpless. What can I do? And a lot of the times it's just being there, just showing up and letting someone know, not necessarily asking every day, how are you? Because they're probably getting that question all the time, but just kind of checking in, not being afraid to talk about something that's not cancer. Because for so many people, it becomes their full-time job and they just want to escape. I know I had a friend who was like, what can I do? I'm like, can you just come over and make pancakes with me? And we did, and we laughed and we talked about anything that didn't have to do with cancer. But, also I recommend being specific in your offers for help. A lot of people, if they're going through certain treatments, they can't move certain parts of their body, or, if they're lucky enough to have someone who lives with them, who is caretaking for them, give that person a break. That person, the caretaker is oftentimes a very, that's an incredibly hard position for a lot of people, because you're trying to be strong for your, the patient, you're trying to be strong for yourself. Maybe you're trying to be strong for kids who are in the situation. And it's exhausting trying to manage all of that and, pick up the slack where your partner maybe is unable to contribute. So helping in that way is great, but really I think the worst thing you can do is potentially just not say anything. A lot of people freeze and they just don't know what to say. And, I've heard that time and time again. There are people in your life that you think you're really close with that are you figure are going to show up for you. And, and I don't feel resentments against people like this, but it can be very painful if somebody just sort of drops out of your life because they don't know how to deal with it. And, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to know the right thing to say. And I think that's a super powerful thing too. Just coming and being like, hey, I love you. I have no idea what to say right now. But I just want you to know I love you and I'm here. That can be extremely powerful.
You have to understand that the lenses that people are looking through with which they're viewing your cancer is something that can be traumatizing to them in a manner that we don't understand. When you face somebody else's mortality, that only leaves the next question is, what about mine? And sometimes facing what about mine means having to face your friend with cancer. And that just doesn't work for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was to me, that's exactly how I saw it. It's if someone isn't showing up for me, it doesn't have to be about me. It's probably about them. But I do know that a lot of people, they've lost friendships over it. Some people can really struggle with that and feel like, it was really painful for their loved one to just not say anything. But you're right. And that's another thing with kind of meditation that helps people that helps you grasp is we see the world through our experiences. It's never really about you. It's always about us. It's always us. Even the person that's offended that their friend didn't show up, that's about you as well.
Yeah.
It always is. Go ahead.
My friend was just don't be weird. Just fucking come over and hang out. Just don't be a fucking weirdo. Can we watch The Godfather and smoke a blunt like we normally do and not just sit here and talk about dying, and shit like that? Acknowledge it. But yeah, that's all. All he wanted to do was just hang out and have people not be fucking weird all the time,
I would beg somebody to. If you had the cancer look on your face when you looked at me, I would be like, come back later when you don't have that look.
Yeah, he would say that.
You can't come in going,
people would come in and just cry.
Because it would drive me personally. I would have a heart attack. It would just constantly bother me. I would only think about cancer.
Yeah, exactly. You want some time to check out for sure.
And it was a good what you brought up about the caretaker too, because I would always just go and let his wife go to the mall or something for an hour and just get the hell out of there and like not be in it because she was there 24/7 and she would come back in 12 minutes because she couldn't stay away, because she's so worried about him. But be like, you're not coming back for an hour. I'm locking you out of your own house. Just go to the damn movies or something, and she'd be right back there. But I think even just running to Taco Bell or something to get her out of there was good,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, compassion fatigue.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
We had an episode on it before, and it's a legitimate thing. Mm-hmm. Happens in the medical profession, happens in first responders, happens in obviously caretakers of somebody with some kind of illness or disability or something of that nature. So it is very important to recognize that there is such a thing and that we're there for our friends. And I'm sure his wife would still to this day be so grateful to you for that.
Yeah. Oh, and just one thing to add to that is like for example, just because someone's cancer journey is over, like don't feel like you shouldn't check in on that. Check in on her maybe. I don't know if you guys are close, but it's like once it's over, it's over. But that is probably something that still comes up for her. And, or if a patient, once they complete their treatment, just like what we were talking about with survivorship becomes this sort of lifelong battle with managing the anxiety that it's going to come back. And with breast cancer, unfortunately, it does come back a lot of the time, especially with early stage breast cancer. That's kind of a little known fact. A lot of women diagnosed with early stage breast cancer have a recurrence. They call it like a distant recurrence and it can come back as metastatic.
Oh no. So it's not just coming back, it's coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
That's not
unfortunately.
Good. Does a mastectomy reduce the possibility of a recurrence? And
yeah, that's such a hard question.
It's an ignorant question to be completely truthful. I have no idea, but it has to. I mean, I'm asking because I know that that's one of the huge traumas that come out of surviving breast cancer. I mean, hell, your clothes don't fit. You have you no longer need a garment that has been given to you since the age of 13 or something.
Yeah, and I mean that is the. I did have a mastectomy, a single mastectomy. I was able to have like an immediate reconstruction, so in the same surgery. So I never had to wake up without like having a mound there. I feel like that would have been really, really traumatic for me. But a lot of women do. A lot of women don't have that option. And I asked that exact question. Honestly, that's not an ignorant question. That's a great question. And, I think maybe a little bit, but the crazy thing about it is like that your cancer can still come back on that side, whether you've had a mastectomy or not. And it can come back, if cancer comes back in a distant area, like it's a breast cancer cell that maybe is spread to your lungs or your bones or your brain. So it's not necessarily coming back in that same breast. So, there's no guarantees. That's the thing about cancer treatment that can be very difficult too, is you're given all these options, but like, there's, they can say, well, we can just take out the tumor or we can take the whole breast. There are different factors that go into it. I had a more extensive surgery because I didn't want to have to do radiation because that can damage your heart and your lungs and
your esophagus and all sorts of things.
So that was where the benefit was for me. It wasn't necessarily like this insurance policy that I felt like was going to prevent my cancer from necessarily coming back. But they do say, like, if you have a BRCA2 gene, that's like the Angelina Jolie genetic marker that makes you predisposed to breast and ovarian cancer. She made popular this choice to go the ultimate extreme and have both of your breasts removed. And sometimes women have a hysterectomy. They have the ovaries removed. And, most doctors will tell you that is, if you have the gene, sure, it's a consideration, but it's a very, like, she didn't even have cancer. She did it.
I was going to say, it's a preemptive. Yeah, that's crazy.
So a lot of doctors think that's a very extreme thing. And you're not, if you're predisposed because you have a genetic mutation, that is not 100%. That does not mean you will get cancer. And there's a lot you can do lifestyle wise to help prevent that gene expression. So, just know you're not fated if that is part of your genetic makeup.
That's super informative.
That's pretty crazy.
Because I had no idea how this all broke down.
Yeah. It's, a lot of doctors are kind of, in my experience, we're sort of like, oh yeah, this Angelina Jolie thing. If you have breast cancer and then it's determined you have the gene, they probably will say, yeah, I probably should do a double mastectomy. But if you don't even have cancer, to do that, I mean, that's a choice. And again, I respect everybody's choice, but it's an extreme choice.
So afterwards, when you're surviving, being or having breast cancer, how much does self-acceptance and awareness play a role in that survival?
Well, I was a woman. I was, 41 at the time. And I was, I was in a relationship, but I was not married. So it's like there, and then that relationship, we did decide to part. And, then I had to start navigating the world of dating and like, how do you bring that up? So it's a little bit different. A lot of people think that breast cancer, mainly affects women who are menopausal. And a lot of those women are maybe in established relationships and have been with their partner for a long time. So there's a whole different set of issues that come along when you're, maybe single, younger. And that's part of why I started my podcast, was like, oh, there's not a lot of resources for women in this position. And let's talk about this in a real way. And, it's always kind of, our culture, I will say, does tend to look at someone who survived cancer, not as something to let it stigmatize you. People are usually very positive, like, oh, that's amazing. That's great. I don't feel like I'm looked at as like a sickly person. I think but I will say, navigating that conversation with someone I'm dating is always a little bit anxiety provoking. And then just sort of coming into acceptance with the body. I will say, since you guys are two dudes, like one of the worst things you can say to a breast cancer survivor is, you got to, the whole thing about a free boob job. Like, it's not a boob job.
Who says that?
You would be surprised.
It's clown. This guy's a character in a movie, right?
I would probably say that.
Gary, you're this dude?
I would say because I was nervous and didn't have the right answer in the time, and maybe just because I said, it wouldn't be like, oh, cool, like that's awesome. It'd be like if they told me out of the blue. Like, I just wouldn't know what to say. And I might say, I might say something like that. Just because.
Yeah, if you're a person who deflects with humor, like I am. Yeah. So, I will say, that's the thing is like a breast reconstruction surgery is very different than a boob job. It's it looks different. It's, when there's no tissue there and you're putting an implant, like it's just like it's different. And every woman's reconstruction is kind of different, but it's. And then if you've only had one side done, then a lot of women have to have additional surgeries to make it match. And then that creates all these other scars. And it's just, there's a lot going on. I am lucky enough that I've never had an issue, in my dating life where someone was like offended me or hurt my feelings or made me feel, anything less than but it's, you're dealing with a situation. So I feel like I don't want there to, that's something I feel like I need to discuss with somebody I'm dating before it gets to the point of like, where you're going to see what's going on.
In a perfect world, we don't care, right? In a perfect world, there's never even a discussion except for this happened to me. And it just becomes something that happened. And then we accept each other because we're all different, perfectly imperfect. But that is not how it works. And we have to navigate these invisible barriers in our head. I like to use the analogy of veils, like just silk pieces of cloth or whatever hanging that actually have no ability to hold you back, but will be there as some kind of fear barrier to what it is that we need to do. And we could just walk through them the whole time.
Yeah. But wouldn't you be, I mean, let's say you're
I'd lose my
dating.
shit. I'd lose my shit. Like, no, if you shaved one of my eyebrows off, I would hide in a fucking, like, no, it would not work out for me. I'm in awe of the ability to navigate this. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, because it takes so much strength to go up against what has been portrayed as a woman's greatest attributes for some stupid reason.
It's what makes you, it's part of what makes you a woman. Sure. Like breasts are part of a lot of women's identity. I mean, the breast cancer journey can be a real assault on your sense of femininity. I mean, I was lucky because I didn't have to have chemotherapy. I mean, I have long hair. And it's always been one of the things that makes me feel confident. And, so if you're losing your hair, your eyebrows, your eyelashes, these are all things, and your breasts, like you feel, I think a lot of women feel really alienated from what it is that makes them feminine. And that's not to say that you're not feminine if you don't have long hair. Yeah. And also just, when you have a mastectomy, a lot of people don't realize this, you lose feeling in that area. So it's completely numb. And so you have to sort of re-examine and re-explore your erogenous zones. It's an experience and it's a journey. It has really shown me a lot about self-love and about the power of confidence. I mean, when I show up to a dating situation and I talk about it with confidence, like it doesn't, I mean, granted, I think I date pretty sensitive men. I think men are great. I'm not one of those types of women that thinks men are all jerks. I think men are awesome. And if you talk to a man and you're honest and, you guys get to know each other.
I like to believe that most humans are innately good. It's just that we take the opportunity away from them to be compassionate because we judge them in advance for what we believe they believe about us or our situation, which when you say that out loud is a great big goat fuck, because there's no way you could be right. And if you are, you're Nostradamus or some shit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think we have our mind made up about how people will react, not an individual person. Like, anybody. And I would be like, just tell me about something like that, because if I don't know, that's when I'm going to say something really stupid because I'm nervous, and it's going to I'm not going to care, but that's when I'll say like the dumb thing because I just don't know what else to say. And then it becomes more of an issue. And you just told me ahead of time and there's no surprise. Like, I'll be like, cool. But some people wouldn't. Maybe an ex wasn't cool. So now you don't want to tell the next one too early. And then you have to figure out when to do it because, you don't want to wait. And then it's going really good. And, some people just will disqualify somebody because they're too short, or they're, one ear's bigger than the other one, or they're too this or too that. So it's like, I think if that happens to you
internal insecurity.
Yeah.
That's them.
It is.
It's always them. They need to plug a hole within themselves with a taller person or correct ears.
No, yeah. It's like that. But if it happens to you once, you're thinking that maybe it could happen to me again. So then you're like going to hold back a little, I think.
It's true. It's lenses.
Yeah. And I think it's important, again, to say, for me, it's been important to say something first and then it's never been an issue. But, everybody's different and everybody's comfort level, like people getting to the point where they feel safe with somebody. I think it's just listen to yourself. When do you feel comfortable sharing that, intimate part of yourself with somebody? And it's also kind of a litmus test. Like if somebody were ever to have a really bad reaction to that conversation, I'd be like, yeah, you're not somebody I want to share myself with.
It's a tattoo on the face. If you have a tattoo on your face, if somebody doesn't want to talk to you because you have a tattoo on your face, they're a fucking piece of shit. It's a real quick way to weed people out.
Yeah, the tattoo on the face, though, that could be the indicator of many things, especially what the tattoo is.
Especially what?
Like what it is, like if it's a gang tattoo, or
I mean, you don't go up and talk about your compulsions.
80% of face tattoos are gang related. I would probably say if you had to break it down.
It's a huge, bold example, that said, the premise is that if somebody is willing to judge you as a good, bad, or accept you based on the fact that you have a mark on your face that you decided, was something that you wanted, that's a pretty good indicator that that person's got some issues that you don't want to be hanging around with.
Yeah. I think there's just society tells you what these things are. Face tattoo, bad, this bad, that's bad. This is not normal.
Implicit bias.
Yeah. People that put on TV for years have painted different characters as different things. And like, it's just drilled into your head now that that's how people are. You might not ever know anyone with a face tattoo, but you've seen them on TV and they're always the guy with the switchblade. Yep. Like, who even has a switchblade?
Like, it's definitely
a switch comb. I remember in the 80s, I had a switch comb from the flea market or something.
Yes,
they mean like in your back pocket.
Everybody
right now.
had one of those.
In the 80s, he has it on him right now, probably.
Actually, I have a Leatherman that was on my desk from something I did earlier. I've been fidgeting with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I have to have something in my hands all the time.
Well, you need a switchblade comb.
Awesome. I do need a switchblade. Now I'm going to order one because I just want one, and I'm going to comb my beard with it during episodes.
What happened to your co-host? I don't know. He just got really sick of this beard thing I was doing. He just never came back.
He's just combing himself. It's weird.
Yeah.
it's like hanging out with Chewbacca.
You do have quite the beard. Was that something you grew during lockdown? I know there's so many guys that have grown beards in lockdown, and then they were just like, I like it, and never went back.
I keep describing this as a bicycle tire that's spinning. That's life. And the pandemic was a stick in the spoke of the tires. And everything that you did repetitively over and over and over again, you realized was a mental illness, and you start to drop things off of your life, like shaving and, combing or putting gel in your hair or something, or, wearing a polo to sit in front of somebody that you could accomplish in sweatpants and things like that. Felt it was kind of liberating. But to be honest, after the Army, I really did not want to shave worth a damn. I was like, this sucks every single day. I don't understand the point of it. Who's this for? Like, it was always something that lingered in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. Why am I shaving? Like, who is this for? Is it for me? Did I have a problem with the hair on my face? Was it getting in the way? Was it doing something? No, it's just there. And I mean, you can't see how fat my face is either when I'm 46 years old. So, hey, there's an upside.
Yeah.
I mean, I do at least have hair on my head. So
yeah,
I'm not the guy that
pisses me off that you always wear a hat. Like, I kind of have to, but you have all that hair. Like, show it off. It's not going to be there forever. Jeez.
I like that you're mad at me for not flaunting my gifts.
That's literally the second time I've ever seen your hair, and we've known each other for a couple years now. That's the second time ever. Yeah, ever. I was at his house. Not on the podcast, whatever, in the house, just chilling. The hat's on.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you ever take that off?
Between haircuts. You catch me a week after a haircut or a week and a half after a haircut.
You're always in between haircuts if you're not actually getting a haircut at the time in which you're doing whatever you're doing. You're in between.
Pointing out the obvious again. Yeah.
But he's always on. Always. 100% of the time. Yeah.
We care about how we look, which is so ridiculous. But thank you. Yeah. The beard is who I am now, I guess. It just it came with the pandemic, change, spiritual awakenings, whatever it is, midlife crisis. I think that people don't understand that those are all the same things. It's just how you react to them. You can either double down and get like a sports car and, a gambling problem, or you can double down and sit on your ass and, meditate or make, some kind of change. I feel like that happens a lot, in humans.
You've been looking for a sports car, though, right?
What's that? You've been looking
for one.
The diagnoses.
Yeah, no gambling.
No. I don't have a need to gamble. You're in Vegas, man. You probably see some of the saddest things on the planet.
Oh yeah, the pawn shops here are great. Like, that's how you know it's messed up.
We do need to get an episode with Chumley or somebody like that.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
That would be pretty funny.
My mom was on there, and she sold some Confederate money that was not really hers. Like my cousins and uncles were like, how come you didn't tell us that grandma had all that shit? She's like, it's TV. It's like, I didn't have that.
TV. That's a great point.
The
images that we believe we should portray are the ones that are on the screens in front of us. We don't realize the importance behind being creators. We're all three content creators. That means we're all three putting out images that people will probably portray themselves after or model their lives after or take in a small piece of it. And the onus is on us as creators to put out content that's worth a damn. That's going to give people a moment to contemplate and become better people. Doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your passions and things like that. Because I love music too. Gary and I love music, make music. We have, are we allowed to say it? We have we're in development of 2 different podcasts and moving on to a network. So we're going to have an all MMA podcast or fighting.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes. You're the boss. So of course you could say it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know, man. But yeah, we're going to have a MMA fighting and music associated podcast.
Cool.
Which will be Beats and Beatdowns, I think is where we're going.
That's a good title.
Right?
Yeah, we tried 1,000 titles and we're back to the first one, which I think we should have with.
I was in Synonym City for like a fucking solid 3 days.
Yeah.
No, that's a good title. I think go with
and
that. Yeah.
Carrie McKinney, who we had on not long back, she's been on a spiritual journey. She was a corporate recruiter and openly an alcoholic and recovered from it. And her podcast is Finding Your Inner Goddess. And it discusses that spiritual journey, meditation, and different ways to affect change within yourself. We're super excited. So much stuff in development, and it's going to be the Tragedy oh my God. The Tragedy Academy Podcast Network.
I love that.
And it's an academy of podcasts that showcase not only change, but pursuing your passions and being authentic. Because we're only made one way, and to be any other thing is a slap in the face of whatever or whomever created us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time to be, alive because I started producing reality television shows in 2003. And that was when they pretty much started. And before that, you couldn't get on TV if you weren't an actor on one of the 5 channels or a commercial. You had no outlet. There's 8, maybe 10 AM FM radio stations in your town and a couple, stations on TV and the Playhouse, right? Like you could never get your message and your passion out to people before podcasting, and reality TV kind of started that, but not on a big scale, where anyone could do it. And now, if you have an iPhone, that's all you need, really. It might not be the best sound and picture, but you could start right now and put that on YouTube and start, I didn't have to do anything because I just, jumped onto Jay's ship here, and he made all the mistakes for a couple of years and has 97 microphones.
Himself credit for anything.
No, but he had 97 microphones already. He's 3rd cameras and what works and what doesn't, and had built it and tried everything that, we would have done together if I would have started at the same time. But it's also part of the process that you became in love with the process, and he knows every speck of everything and why it does this and that and breaks it all down. And if you were to skip all that, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed this as much as you do.
That was my spiritual awakening. 100% honesty. That was my spiritual awakening. Music and the podcast and the ability to put out content that would affect change. I had always known that I had a voice inside of me. And I think that all of the wrong turns in life, roles that I had, corporate or blue collar or whatever they were me trying to fight against the authenticity that was within me that I had a fear of nobody accepting. I always thought that I would be not accepted for my talents or for being myself. It's why I wear t-shirts now with graphic shit on them. I love them because I didn't have them as a kid. Grew up poor. Then I went into dressing like a dodo in cubicles and then suits and flying around. It all sucked. T-shirts are cool. Hats, beards, those are cool. People that create great content to help others like yourself, that's cool. I appreciate you and what you're doing. And I know that everybody out there that is taking in your content feels the same way. I want to let you know that you're welcome back on the show anytime. In fact, I'd be insulted if you didn't come back. And I think, I'm going to predict this, I think you're going to end up on Carrie McKinney's Finding Your Inner Goddess podcast when we get that launched.
Awesome. I would love that. I love... You
two will love each other.
Yeah, she sounds great. She sounds fantastic.
She's amazing. Amazing. We're lucky to have her on board.
Awesome.
Gary, do you have anything you want to wrap up with or anything you want to ask that we didn't?
I would just say, like, your podcast seems like it's specific, but it's not necessarily, because people draw inspiration in everything that maybe haven't had cancer or know somebody that has, like, the stuff that you've been through, that you've pressed through, and the way that you've done it is going to be able to inspire people to get through their shit, whatever it may be. And, you know, it's probably not as bad
you're a very
as that.
Inspirational
and
speaker.
You push through it. People could look at that and see the way that you did it and get through their shitty boss or the marriage that's falling apart or like whatever they got going in their life that sucks. Like, there's ways to get through that and not like lose yourself and everything. So I think just because we talked about that topic, I don't think people should think that's what your podcast is only about, and they should check it out, even if that doesn't apply to them.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, it's really all about like, it's really an exploration of what does it mean to heal. And I think we all have something to heal from. So, you know, and I try to be very, very authentic, you know, so.
It's the easiest thing to be.
Yeah. Right.
Nobody says that. We make authenticity sound like a job. Well, if it's a job to be authentic, you're not being authentic.
Right. And people overthink it. But like, it's about recognizing that you're enough, you know, and the authentic you is going to have the most power and impact and joy. So, you know, that's you guys embody that. And it's been really fun talking to you. I don't get to talk to a lot of male-led podcasts. So this has been a really nice treat for me.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's like led or it's more like a car crash the whole time. I don't know.
It's 100% a car crash. It's a tragedy. It makes you look.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see a tragedy, or at least drive by and look at it. It's how it works.
We cause accidents.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much, Juni. I genuinely appreciate you. You want to tell everybody where they can find you so that you'll also be in the show notes, but
yeah, absolutely. So my podcast again is called Tata Cancer. It's on all the major platforms. I'm most active on Instagram, and it's at Juni Be Well. Also on Facebook at Juni Be Well, and my website junibewell.com. I do take one-on-one clients in my nutritional therapy practice, and I'm a member of in Portland, Oregon, the Rose City Sexual Health Collective, where I help women kind of. I help support the body to find balance so that people can work holistically with the sex therapists to kind of like, you know, have a better relationship with their bodies and their sexuality. So you can find me there too.
So important. Yeah. We're given distorted views of what human sexuality actually is. I'd love to have you back on just to talk about that at some point.
Sure.
I think that's something that stigmas and things like that, or implicit bias or misunderstandings of who we are and how we should interact with others, is a huge topic. It's actually created a lot of the problems in the world today.
Yeah. There's a lot to delve into there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Juni. I genuinely appreciate you. And remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning. What's up, academics? This episode is sponsored by Podpage. Build a beautiful podcast website in 5 minutes. Automatically create a beautiful listener-friendly podcast site from your RSS feed. So you can import your RSS feed into this site, and it automatically generates everything for you. Puts in your artwork, puts in your show notes, puts in all those links, your guest info, everything right there. You get to customize the design to create a professional look that you'll be proud of in a few clicks. You don't have to have a coding background. You don't have to have technical knowledge. This is all plug and play. Choose the design you like, fit and tailored to your brand, the right colors, the right layout, so many different things to choose from. The templates are endless. If you're a beginner, then go to Podpage and find the most organized way to create and monetize your show using the easiest templates. Start out on the right foot. And for veterans, Have you been looking for a way to streamline your workflow and focus on what matters, the content or your listeners? Then go to Podpage, plug in your RSS, and preview your site for free. No more WordPress and YouTube videos to figure out what else needs to be integrated. Not only will you get the best centralized podcast website, you're going to also find all the missed opportunities for monetization, branding, and critical integrations at the click of a mouse. Whether you want to start a new show or take your existing one to a whole new level, Podpage is the best source to create your site. There are 3 tiers to choose from: free, basic, and pro. Basic gets you that custom domain. Free gets your feet wet. And then, of course, pro, that's where you engage your listeners. So get out there, go to thetragedyacademy.com, click on the sponsors tab, and help support the show by clicking the Podpage link and purchasing your new site today. And remember, academics, be cool and keep learning.